Oh, this is bad. Amazon's been announced for weeks, and he still hasn't gotten out of it. Hey, come on. Josh, we have work to do.
Oh, I want to get on the field so they can crush my skull like a melon between their giant, meaty
Okay, Josh, that's enough gibberish from you. All right, well, I can't put that in the episode. Hey, Ben?
Huh? What? Yeah, I'm awake.
Excellent. I need you to do BBSPN things.
Oh, did you guys record a new episode?
No, we're rolling right now. You're in it.
What?
Ladies, gentlemen, and all you gentlethems and ladies, welcome to BBSPN. I've locked Josh out of the recording studio for a brief moment while he recovers from...
Let me in! Let me in!
How do I describe this? Acute, he's acutely manic right now. We'll call it that.
Well, clearly, I'm pretty sure the door locks from the other side.
Fuck. This is BBSPN, a Blood Bowl podcast. I'm Eiley. Josh is on the other side of the door because he didn't hear what Ben said. And today we have a guest. Kiframe.
Yeah, the aforementioned Ben.
The aforementioned Ben. The editor.
And I'm Josh.
The guy you mention at the end of the episodes, or when you want to remove things from the episodes.
Yes, our glorious editor Kiframe, Ben, is here. And instead of getting over Amazons just yet, we are so close, but yet so far, we are going to just start walking the walk and talking the talk of some of the things we've experienced and want to see with Blood Bowl in the near future, or far future, or anything really. Just because Blood Bowl. So I see this even has a note next to it, pass block. What's up with pass block?
Oh no, you're gonna get Ben started on pass block. Don't get him started. You can't just do that to me 5 minutes in.
Oh, you bet I can. So pass block, aka what we should be calling it now, because we are statesmen of the game, is on the ball.
Yes, on the ball.
At least according to this one sentence on my Google Doc says that it is one of the most powerful skills in the game of Blood Bowl. Why?
Oh, Ben.
Oh, you see, I may have gotten a hold of an empty document that was on the list of things to discuss today, and I wanted to go ahead and push the on the ball agenda because one of the things that I first started doing when I started playing Blood Bowl was give pass block to a 4 AG, a 4 agility Kislev blitzer. And never did I ever have so much fun until I joined a Chaos League and gave pass block to a break tackle Yeti. And here's why I made the questionable decisions that I did. See, here's the thing about pass block. It gives you free movement. Your movement allowance is not 6. It's not 5. It's not even 4. It is X plus 3. Because if you're playing into elves, like you do in the older editions of Blood Bowl, where passing is very prevalent, you see a lot of passes, which means you get a lot of free movement if you kit your team properly to dodge out of these tackle zones.
Hold on, what do you mean it's X plus 3? Hang on here.
It is the value of movement plus 3, because any given pass gives you a possibility of 3 extra movement squares, at least in the older editions of pass block.
I'm seeing that it's just 3.
Yes, but that is 3 more than
base movement.
Your base movement is being increased by 3 because when it's not your turn, you get possibly up to 3 more squares.
Oh, I see now. Okay, I thought you meant that you could move that. I'm like, I'm sorry, nobody's moving 9 spaces off of pass block because that's not stupid.
Yeah, that is a bit of a misnomer when it comes to that. It is just 3 spaces, but it is free spaces. It has to be. It has to be towards the ball carrier, right? Is there any caveat to that besides?
The caveat is that it needs to put. You can only do this if you can, within 3 squares, put yourself between the ball, the person throwing the ball, and the person catching the ball, or put you in the tackle zone of either. Which is a big part of why I like to have this on when I do things like a Chaos League, because it's a bit more for fun and because you can experiment with things like this a lot more. You can throw break tackle on, the Beast of Nurgle or a Yeti, somebody with disturbing presence. And when you're playing in against teams that do a lot of passing, the advantage you get there is that your disturbing presence can move anywhere you want to put it on the board the moment anyone goes for a pass. And because teams with that usually are bigger, you're winning at the line of scrimmage. So a pass is almost a necessity. And now looking at the rule changes where you can use multiple rerolls within the same turn, but not for the same skill, that buff has not affected the success rate of passing a whole lot. Because usually when you're using the disturbing presence to make that movement, either you're going to stop one end of it or the other, and if you've got a +2 to your pass because you've got a big guy in your tackle zone with disturbing presence, you still only get 2 chances to make that throw.
So are you saying on the ball is good with other skills that mitigate passing, or are you just saying on the ball is the skill and that everything else is just a bonus to your strategy you're talking about?
On the ball is the icing on top of the cake. When you have a player that has a lot of anti-passing skills, the biggest problem you have with them is that you can place them as well as you want to, but your opponent's going to get some kind of movement during their turn to set themselves up for a better pass. And because they're probably playing a team that has a lot of agility to do that, and because they get to look at the board state and go where they want to, and they're usually not stuck in with the ball carrier, then this is the opportunity that you get to influence their pass during their turn. So it makes everything else that's scary about your pass threat so that much more scary. The only problem is that now we have stunties throwing each other constantly, and Games Workshop won't let us put pass block on to catch the stunties. And I really, really want them to do that.
That's just like
if you have the
stunty.
if a tree man goes for an interception, which by the way, a tree man using pass block gets more movement on the pass block than he does on his turn.
I can't believe I'm hearing on the ball propaganda today. On the list of things.
On the ball, so say GW listens to you and accepts that term. What do you think should happen for a stunty that gets blocked midair? Do you think it's a deflection, or do you think it's like I can't remember what it's called, but a bad landing, a very bad landing?
I'll let Ben go with this, and then I'm going to pull the rug out from under him.
No! Well, I was just going with an interception roll so you can catch him and throw him back. But I think that what would end up making the most sense would be probably after you roll for whatever check you would do to try and get the right stuff player, there would have to be some kind of roll against it to see if you catch them or if you just stop it. But there is no real precedent for, like when you play football or rugby, when you can just dive and swat the ball away and that's your whole intended action. There's not really a precedent for that, at least in the editions of Blood Bowl that I've played. So I don't know how they would handle something like that entirely. But my guess would have to be, the goblin is subject to the whims of scatter dice.
All right, Eiley, what's the response?
I'm going to pull the rug out from under you here.
No!
So I don't know who's leaving their Beast of Nurgle in the back line to intercept passing. Because remember that you still have to roll dodge checks on pass blocking on the ball. Which is fine because you put it on, I think at one time you put it on a mummy, like, just for the fuck of it.
I did do that. More significantly, a break tackle Yeti.
I'll tell you, shriveled nut. God bless that player. Sunday Night Blood Bowl was a weird thing.
I did that because he got an interception touchdown.
But unfortunately, so on the balls, what they did was they combined pass block and kickoff return.
Okay.
but they moved it to passing skill.
No!
So not everybody has access to it anymore. So I've been scrolling through it, and like it really depends. So the Pestigores can get it. They have passing secondary.
Haha.
The Ogre Runt Punter is passing primary, so there's a big guy who can get it.
Okay, I will take it.
Most lineman positionals can't get it at all. Neither can most blitzers. Like passing access is like one of the most restricted ones now. So, I mean, mutation is the most restricted one, but like every team for the most part has one person that can get passing skills on a secondary or a primary, but it's only one player, right? Some of them have two, but it's really spread out. Like the gutter runners have passing secondary, and the throwers are passing primary for Skaven, but blitzers are passing secondary as well on Skaven. So it's really spread out. You got to take it team by team, but I'm sorry to say that there is less pass block in this edition, mostly because why are you rolling on the passing table?
It's okay. GW realized how overpowered the skill was, so they had to do something about it.
Obviously, the genius was realized too late. Well, on that note, Eiley, what do you think is the best skill?
The best
in Blood Bowl 2020?
Oh, God. That's... See, I haven't played that much this... Like, how are we defining best? Like what makes the best skill?
Well, here's the thing, Eiley. I think it should be up to your definition. So what comes to mind for you as a player?
I mean, like, the obvious one is, like, block is essential, right? Like, you are always going to try to take block when you can get it. But in an edition where the inducement phase is so heavily valued, it's probably still block, because remember, in this edition, you don't actually have to level up your players if you don't want to. Which is why, talking about Amazons, the big discourse around Amazons right now, big discourse trademark, is Amazons need a nerf because in League play, what you do is you just get all your line women up to blodge, and that's it. Like, your blitzers might take guard, and one of them might take mighty blow, and that's it. And then all you do is you just sit on all of your SPP, and you just start banking cash and SPP, because you don't have to level up your players anymore. So all you do now is you have a whole team of blodgers that are at like 1200, 1300 TV, and while everybody else is sitting at 1600 TV, you get 300k of inducements, and you have one of the hardest teams to play against. So I might go with block just because of the potential to like bank up your SPP. If we're talking about the skill that everybody's going for, it's guard. Everybody is saving for guard on their doubles. Like, let's not pretend that's not the case. Oh, God.
That's absolutely reasonable and ethical, unlike Ben.
unlike Ben here, who is spouting off pass block propaganda. And I just want to point out, he has intercepted how many throws with a mummy of all things?
At least one that resulted in a touchdown.
He caught it with the mummy and ran it in with the mummy.
Against Dark Elves.
Against...
You just don't understand. His runt punter is going to be so crazy at the anti-pass game.
I forgot how much bullshit was in Sunday Night Blood Bowl. Okay, so for those who don't know,
yes.
Let's talk about that. Sunday Night Blood Bowl was the league that Ben ran when he was just getting into Blood Bowl. And that's actually how I met Ben and everybody else, and eventually how I started doing this. Was because he was running an event with him and his friends, and it was a weekly Blood Bowl 2 league, and it was a Sunday Night Blood Bowl. You can still find the old games on YouTube. I'm not going to say whether or not I recommend that, but...
I won't. I'm not going to. It's this, I would recommend it if you want to see people if you want to watch people try to learn a game with varying degrees of success. Because none of us had ever played the game before. This is why I still like push for stuff like pass block, because I threw pass block onto a Kislev blitzer probably the third week in. It almost never paid off. I'm pretty sure he got KO'd the first turn of every game he was in. But it was something. It was UConn, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was something that made the game fun for us. So I like to push for unconventional skills in when talking about Blood Bowl, not because I think it's a good decision to make, but because it's the kind of thing where you and your opponent can look across the table from each other and go, wow, that was stupid. That worked. That's hilarious.
Well, I mean, that's like the essence of Blood Bowl to me, was what Sunday Night Blood Bowl was, which it's one of those things where there's two parts of this, though. It's like, the first one is like, yeah, unconventional skills are hilarious, and I love them. I wish they were more viable in Blood Bowl 2020. Unfortunately, I think we've all seen that this edition has raised the bar for like what's viable. And basically what I mean by that is, like, there's a narrower pool of options, because they opened up more options for your level ups and for your team development and for inducements. They actually narrowed what's good, if that makes sense. But the other part of this is that those players make stories. I can't believe I'm using the words narrative Blood Bowl play, but your teams and your players, like, in those leagues, if everybody's on board with, like, this is what we're doing, we're going to take unconventional skills sometimes, we're going to have fun with it and not try to be, good necessarily. Good players willfully making suboptimal decisions on their level ups and stuff. That makes, like, a story. I mean, for God's sakes, the arc of Duke Volts.
Oh, Duke Volts.
Duke Volts. What a great blitzer. He was a human blitzer that got strength 4, and the running gag was... the whole team was... Somebody needed to make a Blood Bowl team, and the story behind it was that they couldn't find any players because they all wanted too much money. So they went to the prison, and they pulled out a bunch of prisoners. And they put them on parole and put them on a Blood Bowl team. No, was that... No, that
was it. It was...
Well, no, because Duke Volts wasn't in prison, was he? I think it started...
It was the Cleansing Light Knights. It was a combination of religious zealots and prisoners.
Oh, yeah, like, not excommunicated priests, but it was, like, religious zealots who never got a following, or something stupid like that.
It was something like that.
So Duke Volts gets problems with his marriage and gets a divorce, but I have... an Amazon thrower, because I was playing Amazons, because we didn't know how stupid that was going to be, who got strength 4 and a level up. So we have this running gag of 2 humans with strength 4, and basically the end of it is that they end up getting married or some shit. It's really weird, it's really goofy, but it was like this thing that just started as isolated comedy bits, and then we just strung them all together.
That storyline ends with the Cleansing Light Knights going off to celebrate, except for Duke Volts, who goes off with your thrower. The rest of the Cleansing Light Knights all die and become his new necromantic team or undead team or something like that.
They're the undead. Yeah, the church catches fire and it burns down. So the next like series, because we did like 4 seasons in a series, he shows Dylan, the guy that's playing them, shows up with undead, and we're like, oh, that's cool. What makes you pick them? And then we look at the player names and we're like, oh my god, no. That story doesn't end there. Actually, my Old World Alliance Blitzer is a Volts. It's their kid.
I see.
So that story doesn't end there. But yeah. So, but here's the thing: that team is never going to play in Sunday Night Blood Bowl. But I'm carrying that on. I have to ask Josh at this point if you've done anything remotely close to this ever.
No. Not even once.
You're not a narrative Blood Bowl player?
I think narrative Blood Bowl does have an interesting place. I feel like it's good to have a narrative for your team because it gets you invested in that team.
Yeah.
To me, it is for someone who has more time than I do to develop it, or more accurately, someone who enjoys creating a narrative outside of like a couple paragraphs in a backstory. Yeah. Like, you're the kind of person who actually puts the flaws and motivations in your D&D character. That's the kind of person I think of. To me, like, I just want to roll as something and then develop a narrative if I want to. Before that, I don't want to invest too much because I don't know if I'll actually enjoy this, and I don't want to put too much into my team if I don't enjoy it.
That's fair.
And as I found out with playing with both you guys and other leagues, is that what I enjoy in Blood Bowl was not what I really expected it to be.
What do you enjoy?
But I really enjoy... Oh, God. I enjoy the economics of Blood Bowl a lot.
What do you say?
The fact that, like...
Go on.
The fact that there is teams that you can build around inducements, there are teams that, that your players can develop and they cost different. It's kind of like when you watch actual sports, they talk about the market cap all the time with teams. You know, how to keep it fair, and like who is bought for what, who's valued at what. You know, your resources. This is just me rambling on as an economics major by now. But it's...
Didn't know that.
It is just... I like the stats of Blood Bowl. I like the chances that you run through. I like the mental calculations because I suck at that still. But with Blood Bowl, it does help me understand probability a little bit better.
Yeah, so...
And I guess like... It just, like for instance, I was thinking about like the economics of a snotling and how you buy them, but they're technically worthless for your team value. And the amount of chaos you could come up with when you can buy 2 star players over 300,000 gold and a giant and still be under your inducement value is... I don't know. It opens up an avenue that I don't think a lot of players think of, and it's something I want to keep going into. Like, narrative's okay, but the practical use of stats in Blood Bowl will always be more interesting to me.
So you're interested in primarily value and less so the microeconomic standpoint of incentive. Is what like you're interested in incentive up to the point of value, rather than like flipping on the other way of like what is a Blood Bowl player incentive, like what's the incentive for taking on the ball over guard when you get to pick your secondary. Fight me, Ben.
I value fun at 50k player value.
Yeah, it is essentially like that, but to keep people still awake for this podcast, I do want to talk about a different topic because I know economics will appease me, but not so many other folks.
I mean, I've been listening to Freakonomics, so...
Well,
it's good stuff. So, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
We are fortunate then that Blood Bowl has somewhat combined narrative and economic play with, as I recall from a previous episode of BBSPN, the... if I remember correctly, you guys mentioned the league play system lets you purchase other, like, buy back players in consecutive years.
Yeah, for a 20k tax. And that tax doesn't stack. So if your player's worth 150k, you have to pay 170k for them for the start of next season. Well, then the next season rolls around. That player's team value hasn't increased. Like, let's say they didn't level up. You still only pay 170 for them. You don't pay 190. They're only ever worth their base value. The 20k is just a signing tax.
And it's also going back to like market caps because if you look at your original Blood Bowl rulebook, it says a recommended cap of 1.3 mil, so that you don't have teams running out of control, and you can still keep players have to make more decisions about their team. They can't just keep stacking and have the revenue to pay them off, give or take a couple of costly measures. I can't remember what the exact term is. Expensive mistakes.
Yeah, expensive mistakes. And most of the time they're not actually that bad. So.
Yeah. But speaking of things that are kind of like Amazons, but not really Amazons, we know that Amazons are coming. Yeah. We know that, well, I wouldn't say no. That's a big deal. The probability of the next team being a team of legend is quite high. In fact, if I was a betting man, I would put money down that we're going to see the Tomb Kings and the Chaos Dwarves back in plastic for the first time, if not this year, next year. My question to you both is, what team do you want to see that isn't a team of legend?
I don't know if mine's a team of legend or not, but I wrote a paragraph of it on the document already.
So I did see Slan. So Slan are not a team of legend. They are
not.
a strict. They are a strict. The NEF team. They are an NEF team included.
Yes.
Excellent.
In fact, you can still play them in the 2020 rule set. There was a person who got Slan. I think he made it into like the top 20 with the latest NAF tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know what the 2020 rules are for Slan, but do you know that, Ben?
I can pull it up real quick.
We're both
now. That's fine too.
We're both furiously searching for it.
The NAF Salon. I got pulled up right here. So let me just look this up real quick. It looks to me like So here's what they did. The point values and the stats are identical. This team was ported over directly. Rerolls, everything like that. Including the stat accesses, except that they dropped passing off of linemen for secondaries, which is pretty typical, and they took it off of the big guys for secondaries too, which is also typical of this edition, where your linemen just can't take a passing skill. All the costs are the same as far as I'm concerned. All the stats are exactly the same. What they did is that they don't have leap anymore. They have pogo stick and very long legs, so it's just a strict upgrade.
They did have very long legs before, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yes.
I forgot that because of 2020, pogo stick works with long legs now. I think is what it is. No, they've always worked together because the Goblin Pogo also had it. So the pogo stick is just a strict upgrade over leap for this, as far as I'm concerned. And then they gave all of the players a flat, except for the big guy, a flat 4-up passing skill. So one of the weird things about Slan is actually that all of their players pass exactly the same, and none of them are good at it.
So here's my question for you then, Ben. What do you want to see from Slan, and what do you think a Slan team would look like? What's their aesthetic? Are they just from Lustria, or is there something more to it?
So the thing is, my experience with Slan is playing the Kislev team in Blood Bowl 2. I didn't have the chance to get my own like figures for a Blood Bowl team until more recently, so I'm looking to get Slan. But as far as their aesthetic and their appearance, there's not a whole lot that I have to go off of on them aside from their more reptilian look. So I kind of see them as like circus lizard men, kind of, with the way that they're constantly leaping around over everything. The way that I tended to play that team before this edition was a lot of positioning, and then having one or two players that I had decided these are the two that are going to go for a leap this turn, because they're the ones that I need to go accomplish a thing or the other, and I'm going to hold that till late on the turn. Now with the multiple rerolls that you can put in a turn, I see them having a lot more potential to have a big swing turn, where you can actually get a lot of players out to the other side very quickly. And granted, there were times where I would play Kislev that way anyway. I would go up and be leaping with 4 or 5 players a turn, and the first time that a player needed to use the reroll, I just stopped. No more leaps anymore. But with that rule change, it's a lot more tempting to go for it. So I think that it's going to be a situation where you've got, you're playing against Slan, you're pushing downfield, you're getting kind of close. My ball carrier is like not quite next to the lineman in front of him, but he's still okay. We just switched sides of the board all of a sudden, and I'm being pressed into the end zone I was trying to get to, and I don't have the ball. So
would you want to see them have the same stats as Kislevites do right now in 2016? The 8-up armor, 3 strength, 3-up agility, with the added mutation in the leap skill, or the pogo stick skill, excuse me.
I think for the most part you can keep a lot of their skills pretty much the same. Again, pogo stick is a strict upgrade, and I think that if we see them make a change outside of the NAF rules for the tournaments, I think we are going to see something get decreased, because keeping them at the same agility values and giving them an overall better ability to leap really does give them a bit too much reliability in that part of their mechanic. It's a very big part of the way that they play, but it also requires that whoever you're playing against has to completely rethink the way they're playing around your team if it is that incredibly reliable. And I think they had a good balance before from the experience I personally had playing with them, but running them in 2020, I think it might run into an issue of it being a little bit too consistent, and I would expect that the stats are going to be made just the slightest bit worse when we see a full release, just for the sake of balancing it. You mentioned one team got top 20. I don't know how well they're going to perform in tournaments overall, but my gut instinct is that they're going to be a little bit better than most people are going to want them to be for the meta of the game, if they stay this way.
All right. Eiley, you're getting your Zons.
I am getting my Amazons after I spent all that freaking time working on the team guide. And I didn't even talk about, like, just banking your SPP and just, milking the inducement game in that video. So even then I was missing info. And now they're getting a whole re-release. I'm a little annoyed by that because I was going to get the Grebo, Amazons, and Norse combination kit. And then the Norse came out, so I was like, well, okay, that's fine. And the Amazons also came out. I'm like, what the hell? I'm glad I didn't buy that. That would have been 150 euros down the drain, but still. Quick thing on the Slann, though. Remember that, so the OG Slann team from Blood Bowl was made at a time where the lore for Blood Bowl was super different. Or the lore for Warhammer in general was really different. So, like, we look at the Slann now, and we see, like, these big, quite bluntly, they're just overweight frogs that move around in magical
There is a
hover
line
chairs.
about that, yes.
Here's what Slann looked like when the team was released. I'm gonna put this in the in our group DM. This is from the story of who is this? You guys want some Space Slann minis? Here. This is what they were. they were like weird.
Wow.
Yeah, like that was what all the Slann were.
Whoa.
I'm trying to remember what the heck is this? Oh yeah, that image is from The Legend of Kremlo the Slann. Like the Slann used to be their own kind of thing. I'm pretty sure this was even before like they developed the thing of like they, depending on your source, either lead or enslave the lizard men. I'm pretty sure that I don't remember what the actual consensus is on that. It's probably enslave. But yeah, so this is what Slann used to be now. So because they're so different in the lore now, I wonder if they would just make Kislev. But the problem with that is that the reason why we have Imperial Nobility and not Bretonia is because Bretonia was a purely cyanide thing. So they couldn't make that. And then, if I remember right, the story for the Kislev and Blood Bowl 2 is they wanted to make Slann and GW said no. And then they looked at their contract and said, we're allowed to make up our own teams. They're like, yeah, you can make a custom team. Cool. It's Kislev, and it's exactly the Slann stat lines was what it was. And GW basically clapped their hands and said, well played, good sir.
Thank you, GW.
My only counter to that is that we have the Amazon team. To me, GW's always been focused on their marketing and their brand recognition. And Amazon is probably one of the least brand recognizable things you could name a team compared to all the other teams right now. Because think of all the other things that are named Amazon or Amazonian or things that are sold on Amazon. I feel like anything is fair game. I don't think we're going to see Frogmen. I think, like, especially with the quarantine being out and them being very human-centric, we would see Kislev instead, because we know that there's a Kislev fan base, and we know that there's an active Kislev fan base right now.
I mean, I'm down for that. I mean, I started making. I think I made like Zarina Katerin a custom star player at one point. So it's like I would love to see her like actually just get into Blood Bowl and be like, no. Because in Blood Bowl 2, it's like Kislev plays for the Ice Queen's hand. It's like, no. What if we just make the Ice Queen a player? Like.
Well, would you want to see Kislev or Slann as well, Eiley, or was there another team you had in mind for something that hasn't been in GW's roster for Blood Bowl teams?
Oh, jeez. So, I mean, I would love to see Kislev. Not a Teams of Legend team, you said, though, right? So this is a new concept outside of Kislev.
Well, Kislev's still technically a new concept that's never been added officially, I think.
Okay, but it's in the game. It's in everybody's minds. I mean, for God's sakes, the NAF has a roster.
Oh yeah.
This is a hard one because
So is Slan.
on the one hand, I want to see all of the Chaos Gods get a team. I think Khorne is trending in that direction, but at the end of the day, it's still we're 2 years into this edition. And did Khorne add any Chosen of Tzeentch and Slaanesh stuff? Do we know if that spike did that? I don't know offhand because I don't have the spike for that.
No, they didn't.
That's what I thought.
So there is a couple of things related to the Chaos Renegades, but there was never anything for different gods for the quarantine. It was all you had to be chosen of Khorne or a favorite of Khorne. Excuse me.
Right. So they didn't include any other favorite of stuff with that Khorne spike. So in that case, like, exactly. I'm gonna say that it's time that favorite of gets the fleshing out that it's supposed to get. I mean, I'm glad we have Norse. I'm glad that we're getting Amazons. You put this giant hole in your rule set to fill in later, and it's 2 years in and we don't have anything yet for Slaanesh and Tzeentch. And I don't know what a Tzeentch team would look like. I mean, so Khorne is showing that, like, the established Chaos framework is you have 4 positionals that are strength 4. You have a positional that can move it. I'm pretty sure the Khorne Gors are still movement 6. I don't think they're movement 7. But you have a Beastman positional. You have some linemen, and then you have a big guy. So I don't know what that looks like for Tzeentch. Like, what do you do to a movement 4, strength 4 positional to make it Tzeentch? What do you do to make it Slaanesh? Did you make it movement 5? Do you make it movement 5 and hypnotic gaze or something? Like, do you make it faster? Like, I don't know what the design space is. They're heavily in favor of some of these teams getting new traits that are not in the rulebook already, too, right? So it could be a trait thing, where, like, the Tzeentch has some weird trait where, I don't know, their linemen are pink horrors, and when they die, you have 2 blue horror linemen now, or something stupid. And then you get to, like, stunty crimson horrors, and I hope that you can throw them somehow, because that would be really funny. But it's time for the Chaos Gods to all have their own teams.
I wouldn't even, like, say they would get, like, unique lineman traits. Like, say if you're Tzeentch, you get half off of wizards.
That could be funny.
Or something.
Yeah. Like the favorite of Tzeentch wizards are super discounted or something.
Or, like, you can get a wizard and you can also get a Tzeentch wizard added to it, so you can have a cap of 2 wizards.
That could be really cool. Yeah.
Implement the Slaanesh summoning mechanic. You get low AV on your linemen, but you get to roll for knockouts every turn. So you can just have them run back out onto the field in the middle of the game.
That doesn't sound dumb at all.
But I actually do want to see, like, the next god I want to see is Slaanesh. One, because I feel like Slaanesh has gone into a better direction art-wise. I feel like they've really been able to nail the aesthetic of elegant and disturbing, especially with the new Keeper of Secrets.
Ooh, yes.
And I want to see that brought onto the pitch, and I want to see how it's implemented to Blood Bowl, because we know, like, the lore behind the Guild of Happy Serenity and the fact that they're, like, this really uppity orphanage that's secretly a Slaanesh cult. Like, I kind of want to see that, like, not even really deviancy, but just, like, cult conspiracy. Like, everyone in that is a cultist, and I would want to see, say, like, the Blitzers have hypnotic gaze, and I want to say hypnotic gaze and a skill that helps with catching, and they would be, like, a new agility team.
Like, like, all their linemen just have catch.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
So far,
that'd be really good.
I see so far that they prefer that if they do have demonic teams, they don't have many demons except for your centerpiece.
Yeah.
And it'd be really cool to have a centerpiece model for Slaanesh who had, like, this amazing stat block, without any downsides, but, like, your cultists are your weak point. Like, you still have to get the ball to your big guy, but getting there is going to be a problem because the
Oh, the big guy's the ball carrier.
As the youngins would say, the linemen are down bad for the big horny, and they can't really help you with your big the centerpiece, your perfect Blood Bowl model, which is this big person that has some amazing skill line.
Are you suggesting that all the linemen get bonehead because they get distracted by the big guy?
Not that serious, but like we're talking. I'm thinking more like 2016 thralls for vampires. You know how vampire thralls have like 4-up agility, which is akin to zombies and skeletons. I feel like that's more appropriate. They can be a meat bag, but they're not going to be an athletic meat bag, except for maybe your blitzers or this big guy I keep thinking of.
So we have an agility team that has meat bag line. That's interesting because like vampires didn't have to be an agility team. Like, I mean, vampires are just kind of like, a high roller team. But now you have a team that is dedicated to trying to play fast with chaff. I mean, okay, this is Skaven on some level, but like it's different enough, which is fine because it's like, Skaven have AG4. Okay, well, what about Wood Elves? It's like, well, okay, but Wood Elves do this differently. They do it faster, they're more fragile, and they punch less. A Skaven blitzer will still kill something. A Wood Elf ain't killing shit if it's not a War Dancer.
I was about to say, like, since like a lot of Slaanesh cultists are masochistic, why not just give them a decent armor value and thick skull? And that's
not a bad idea.
That would be like they still have 4-up AG, but they still can take a punch and they can still move. They just can't really get out of a situation if they get cornered. Except for your champion, essentially, is what I'm trying to get at.
Star player with driving whips of Slaanesh roll to increase somebody's movement speed.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, though, like, wait, no, isn't there a star player though that does that, where like he can increase somebody's movement speed briefly?
Is there?
I have the slightest idea.
I swear there's one that does that. Is it Grombrindal? No, Grombrindal gives a skill. I mean, I've never seen anybody take Grombrindal anyway, but I swear there was one where you could like temporarily increase somebody's movement speed by 1 or something weird. It's not Zolcath, because Zolcath's thing is nobody's ever seen a Zote before. God, I don't remember what it is. No, I don't. I don't remember what it is, but I swore that was a thing already. If it's
fine.
not, it needs.
We'll bring it up. We'll bring it up in post if we do find it. Speaking of posts, if you guys have anything else you want to say before we wrap this up, because we are hitting the 44-minute mark.
Ooh, specific.
Yeah. Indeed. Ben, do you have any thoughts?
I hope that I didn't sound too stupid. I'm usually on the editing side of this and not the talking side, but.
Oh.
Other than that,
no, it was great to have you on, and it's going to be great to have you further on if we can get these roundtable discussions going. Again, we thank you all for showing up, as always. We know it's been an interesting time with all the other Nurgle-like diseases that are out there. But we assure you that we have a schedule, and once Amazon's finally comes out, we can finally gush over those.
Yes.
And Eiley can remake a guide, and I'll have to figure out what the heck I'm going to do with the old guide.
Leave it up. Why not? It's still useful in.
I'll just put like the old tag on it or something. It'll be simple.
Yeah.
I'll still keep it up because I feel like it's still a good guide. And in fact, I think it was probably one of the most discussed guides besides, yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I didn't actually know that.
I mean,
I didn't know
one out of the 2 guides.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say I didn't realize that people were like discussing our guides. Josh is much more in tune with the internet side of with the community reception than I am.
I just have anxiety over the algorithm. That's all that is.
I mean,
you're the face of the podcast.
If people said good things about it, awesome. If they said bad things about it, cool. I need to learn something.
All right. Thank you all for watching. This is BBSPN, and we are signing off.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.